Implementing good AI in a game can be a complicated process. From the genre of the game, to what approach the developer is taking to something like difficulty, to how far up the list authenticity and realism are on the developer's list of priorities. There are just so many factors that make even deciding what would make for good AI in a game quite tricky. And when all of that has to be applied to a large-scale open-world game, it becomes an even more complicated task. Even so, there have been more than a few open-world games over the years, especially of late, that have boasted incredible AI, and here we're going to talk about what we feel are the best examples. A quick note before we move forward. Please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. And while you're at it, please click like if you enjoyed this video. It really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's begin. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Hey there! Hello!
Kind of an obvious choice, and one I'm sure most of you had seen coming. Never before has Rockstar crafted a world as believable and mechanically deep as the one in Red Dead Redemption 2, which is really saying something. And the game's AI is a big part of that. Whether it's with organic and dynamic conversations with NPCs bolstered by an incredible dialogue system, or realistic behavior that helps even the most insignificant characters remember your actions no matter where you go. Red Dead Redemption 2's AI truly makes its magnificent world come alive. Grand Theft Auto V. Grand Theft Auto V's AI isn't nearly as impressive as something like Rockstar's own Red Dead 2, but then again, it's going for a completely different kind of experience. GTA 5 is all about mindless, bombastic, chaotic action, and its systems serve that purpose really well, the AI included. It exists to prop up the game's best elements, and really, that's what good AI is all about in any game. Not to mention the fact that watching frightened NPCs scatter in all directions while you're in the midst of a bloody rampage never gets old. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Good AI is important in any game, of course, but there's an argument to be made that there's no genre that relies on it as much as stealth games do. They're built on good AI. Metal Gear as a franchise has always understood that perfectly well, and Metal Gear Solid 5 took that understanding to its zenith. Enemies patrol locations with dogged persistence. They go to great lengths to hunt you down even after they've lost track of you. And hell, they even learn and grow based on how you're playing and adapt to your tactics to make life more difficult for you. The Phantom Pain's excellent AI is a big part of why this game is, and always will be, a stealth masterpiece. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and War. It's fair to say that if not for the amazing implementation of AI via the Nemesis system, both Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War would be pretty average and forgettable games. With the Nemesis system, however, it's hard to put them out of your mind, given that it makes both games among the best examples of emergent storytelling in the medium. Because honestly, the stories that you craft yourself by succeeding and failing against different orcs, watching your actions send ripple effects through their massive hierarchy, and seeing it all result in the formation of literal armies is the best part of both of these games. And none of that would have been possible without the Nemesis system. Monster Hunter World and Rise. 2 words: Turf Wars. The Monster Hunter formula was an excellent one as it was, but when Capcom introduced the Turf Wars mechanic with Monster Hunter World, they elevated it to a whole nother level. Watching monsters dynamically crossing paths with each other and getting embroiled in furious fights and even being able to use that to your advantage at times felt exactly as satisfying as it should. The mechanic was taken even further in Rise, where it was much more common to see monsters organically chancing upon and locking horns with each other. The fact that this often gives you a chance to take advantage of the Wyvern riding mechanic only serves to sweeten the pot. Horizon Zero Dawn. Given the fact that Horizon Zero Dawn sees you taking on massive mechanical monstrosities armed with all manner of weapons and governed by autonomous artificial intelligences, it makes sense that they'd put up a pretty decent challenge in fights, which they definitely do. Each machine has a varied arsenal of weapons and abilities and knows how to make use of it in devastating ways. Of course, it's also always a ton of fun overriding some of the bigger machines and watching them absolutely tear other mechanical beasts to pieces. Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. Appropriately enough, given the kind of game it is, S.T.A.L.K.E.R has you on the edge of your seat constantly, making you feel like you can die to a well-placed shot at any time. And I'm not sure if that would have been true if not for the excellent AI. Enemies in S.T.A.L.K.E.R feel like thinking tactical foes, who slowly creep up on you, patiently try to flank you, don't pop their heads from behind cover like stupid bullet black holes like enemies in so many other games do. Every fight feels scrappy and tense, and the excellent artificial intelligence truly makes you work for every victory. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. We're not sure if The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild's AI would have been deserving of any sort of praise if it weren't for the game's physics and chemistry engines. But like everything else to do with this game, those complex webs of systems work together to make everything else around them better, which includes the AI. Whether they're reacting to a quickly spreading fire in a grassy field, or whether larger enemies are picking up smaller enemies and throwing them at you when they have no other weapons at hand, the foes that you run into in Breath of the Wild are more than capable of using the game's systems to their advantage, at times in truly surprising ways. The Forest. For those who have played The Forest, know that the game features excellent AI that adapts accordingly to the player's actions. You can not only tame the cannibals, but if you kill the witness, their group may not even know what happened. There is also a different faction of cannibals in the game, which attacks you because they are starving. But if you put an animal corpse in front of them, they may leave you and eat the corpse instead. For an indie game, the AI in The Forest is simply exceptional. Far Cry 2. As good as Far Cry 3 and 4 are, there's a contingent of Far Cry fans out there who will passionately tell you that Far Cry 2 is an amazing game. It's easy to see where that passion comes from. It's the most unique game in the series, putting authenticity and a gritty realism in its systems-driven world above all else, and the game's excellent AI plays a big part in that. Every combat encounter in the game feels like a workout, and while systems such as injuries, manual healing, and weapon degradation do contribute to that, it's the devilishly clever enemies, who are almost psychic at times, that make every firefight such a grueling challenge. Crysis. Crysis AI succeeds in very similar ways to something like Far Cry 2 or S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Though enemies can be quite stupid and easy to kill when you're using your nanosuit, at other times they operate together like a well-oiled killing machine. Flanking maneuvers, making proper use of cover, trying to flush you out from hiding spots, even making use of dense foliage that you more often than not find yourself surrounded by. Enemies in Crysis 1 can go to surprising lengths to make sure that they bring you down, making most, if not all, firefights feel like actual challenges to get through. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.